Good afternoon. I'm Sherry Baer. I am Director of Development of the American Jersey Cattle Association, and it is my pleasure to welcome you again to another in the series of World Dairy Expo virtual farm tours presented by the U.S. Jersey organizations, those being the American Jersey Cattle Association and National All Jersey Incorporated. We were one of the first, we participated in the very first virtual farm tour program, and so have been part of this for many, many years. Looking back at the herds we have brought to you in prior years, today's featured operation breaks the mold in its approach to marketing the cow and her product to the consumer. And certainly, it is the smallest dairy herd at 40 cows on this or any year's virtual farm tour program. Before we begin, I do need to give some credit for some of the video that is included in this presentation. So we'll recognize the contributions of Shouted Out Designs, Ben Young, Antioch College in Ohio, and various photos that were snagged from Facebook, visitor posts, and Ohio travel blogs. So without delay, let's begin. One farm and endless fun at Young's Jersey Dairy. So I'm going to give you a few quick facts about this operation. The family has been on this farm for 149 years. I think it's in January, Stuart, that you'll celebrate the 150th anniversary. On-farm retail sales have been going from 60 years now. Bottled milk from 1958 to 2002 under their own label, glass jars, lovely things, which you'll see. Started dipping ice cream in 1960 and have been producing farmstead cheese since 2009. Now, what happened, of course, was they came to the farm and they bought milk, and the kids wanted to see the cows, which led to the construction of a viewing area with a calf. And then this grew into a farm animal petting area over the years. 1.3 million customers visit Young's Jersey Dairy, which is located on State Route 68, just south of I-70 in between Springfield or Columbus and Dayton, Ohio, okay? They churn 80,000 gallons of ice cream and make 50,000 pounds of farmstead cheeses and market it all through that operation. It is a family-friendly agritourism destination that is rated 4+ stars on TripAdvisor, and that's not critics, that's visitors. So please give a warm welcome to Stuart Young.
Okay, thank you. It's a great privilege to be here today. My first trip to the World Dairy Expo. My parents have been here, but I've never been here before. And so we're really pleased to be here. I'm going to introduce my wife, Jill. Will you stand up real quick, please? This is my wife, Jill. She made the trip she's my chauffeur because she won't let me drive. So what I'm going to tell you about today is a Jersey farm started in the modern part of the Jersey farm, started in late 40s, early 50s. 3 brothers milking 100 Jersey cows in a barn built shortly after the Civil War, and that was added on to in the late 50s, and we still use it all today. All right? But you say, oh, that's 1960. Or in the 40s, my uncle showed at Waterloo. Has anybody remember when we showed national shows at Waterloo? My dad showed at Chicago. All right? And we showed the first dehorned Jersey State Fair champion at the Ohio State Fair in 1960, which everyone hated us for because it was the first time a cow had won a championship show without horns. 1964, the Rose cow was two-time national grand champion. She was born in our barn, and we had sold her as a heifer. And in 1972, we had won our second reserve national grand champion bull, and that was the last banner handed out at the All-American Jersey Show that year before the barn caught on fire 15 minutes later, and that was the end of the show. So this is a historic banner because it was the last one handed out. Why am I telling you all this? 50-year-old history? Because I want you to get the idea that we were just a typical dairy farm, just like all of you, all the ones you see out here that are showing. We played all those games. We liked having good cows. All right, we still do. But we just do things a little differently. Because why? My uncle and my two uncles and my dad, they decided we wanted to keep the family on the farm. How do we keep the family on the farm? Well, the only way we were going to do that was to expand other than milking more cows. So we have charted ourselves down this course to, and the pictures are running here behind me of ancient history. So like she said, or Sherry had addressed, there's the original store in the 60s where we started selling ice cream along with our bottled milk. All right? And we started bringing people to the farm to get ice cream and milk. Something interesting happened in the 70s, right when we were about done being big-time show guys. The invention of the mall, the shopping mall. All right? Sundays used to be a day where we went to church and then we went home and spent time with family. Shopping malls promoted families going out and doing things. All right? And so when they come to Young's to get their ice cream, they wanted something else to do. What else is there to do? What can we do? Well, we can go on a pony ride. That was pretty cool in the 70s, but for today's kids, it's pretty lame. So we had to create other things. All right? Now, this is going to sound all nice and rosy, okay? But there were some hiccups along the way, and I'll point those out. One of our first expansion plans was to build ice cream stores away from the main farm. Didn't work. Guess why? Because there weren't any cows at these things. We were just an ice cream shop. All right? It works when the cows are there. So in the early 80s, we pulled back, got out of that, started making the ice cream on the farm. My one uncle had a really good relationship with Borden's. We housed Elsie the cow at Young's for several years. We cut the ribbon at Disneyland with Elsie, my one cousin did. Met Mickey Mouse in 1972 or 4. So we had a really good relationship with Borden's. Well, they were slowing down and we were getting ready to put the gas to what we were getting ready to do. And so we started making our own ice cream and changed our dairy store, what we call our ice cream store, our dairy store, around a little bit to serve more food items and incorporate ice cream in a bigger way. That's when we really started to take off. And that's when we started getting more requests for things to do on the farm. All right? And so, in the 80s, we built a petting area. You're watching what my customers get to see every day. Every day, except for Christmas. I shut the door on Christmas Day. All right? You're standing right where my customers are standing every day. Okay? We give full access to the farm. This is free. It didn't cost them a dime to get to this point. Okay? They haven't had to spend a dime yet. They get to Walk in the end of the barn and see the cows. Watch us milk. The reason we had to do that was before we built that pen, they used to walk up and down the aisles with us while we were milking, and we couldn't get the milking done because there were so many people in our way. So this is a Sunday afternoon. People are going in and out. Here they come. They got their backpacks. They're hanging out. They're there for the day. We have created a destination. Do we keep it all fancy-dancy like Walt Disney does? No, it's a real working dairy farm. We don't disguise that fact at all. In fact, if I had a little more help, I could clean it up a little bit more. But they're in the barn. He's eating his ice cream cone. She's taking pictures of us milking cows. We milk with dealer valve pail milkers. Old-fashioned way, just like my dad and uncles did. And we use a dump station. Why do we use a dump station? I have a pet peeve about pumping milk. I think milk is the most abused product on the planet that we produce on an agricultural farm because it gets pumped so much. So our milk doesn't get pumped until it gets pumped to the cheese vat. Everything's gravity flow and vacuum. The people are standing there watching us milk the cows. So that was the first. And then now what are we going to do? We watched them milk the cows. We've seen the cows. We've eaten our ice cream. What are we going to do now? So then we created these things that were entertainment. Udders and putters, the batting cages, wagon rides, driving range. Things for kids and families to do, but all centered around a Jersey cow, all right? It's Barnaby's, Walnut Grove, where we have company picnics. It's Calvin's grain bin. This is my brother and the young man that helps us milking cows. People are right there watching. He's talking to them over the fence. We created these other entertainment venues to give people something more to do. In '96, we added the restaurant, full service restaurant to appeal to baby boomers, to give us more access or more availability to feed people while they were there. We can move on now. So now then I want to really focus a little bit on ice cream for a minute. Ice cream is where we've made our money. All right, ice cream is an easy food. You guys all been to a restaurant before, have you? All right, you've been to an ice cream store. Ice cream's happy food. It's easy. All right. Have you ever been to a place where the guy brings his ice cream back up to the counter and says, "There's not enough butter in the butter pecan"? All right? No, that doesn't happen. But somebody can get a cold steak. All right? So ice cream's easy. It's the easiest thing there is in the world. It's a happy food. So with our ability to make our own flavors, make them in small batches, it's a 15% butterfat ice cream. It's high quality. It's good. So it makes it easy. Why I'm telling you all this is because here's a picture of outside our dairy store on a Sunday afternoon. Was this taken pretty recently? Yeah, like 2 weeks ago. It was beautiful weather, and the place is packed. So you're going to get to see this. You can listen, get to see this is what inside our store is like, and it gets crowded. But ice cream is an easy food. It goes with the cows. It's a dairy product, obviously, all those silly things that I just said. But it works because we have access to people and the public, and we've made the cow our priority in this. The reason you're in here listening to this today is because maybe you live in a place where this might work for you. We've gone way overboard on agritourism and bringing the public into our facility. You can go as far with this as you want, or you can stay as small with this as you want. I'll say this later in the program. I can pick Young's Dairy up and go anywhere. I can go outside of Madison. I can go outside of Chicago. I have a friend that's outside of Bowling Green, Kentucky, that makes it work. Okay? They had a record year last year, 25,000 gallons of ice cream they sold outside of Bowling Green, Kentucky. It doesn't take a massive amount of people. It just takes a few. All right? We live between Columbus and Dayton. This is what it looks like at Young's on a Sunday afternoon. And I'll mention that again before I go. But that's the reason I'm here today, is to give you an alternative to something you can do on your dairy farm besides just getting up and milking cows every morning. Let's go to cheese. Yeah. Oh, yes, I've already. Video of our Udders and Putters complex. So we bottled milk. Go ahead and let this run. I'll tell this story. We bottled milk. Glass jugs, plastic jugs later on. 2002, the state of Ohio come along and said, no more raw milk. We were the last ones in the state of Ohio that were bottling raw milk and selling it to the public. All right? No more. Fine. So we were just like you there for a while with the cow herd. The DFA truck stopped, picked us up, took us to town. All right? In 2008, I finally said, hey, if we're going to keep milking cows, it's time to do something with the milk besides put it on a milk truck. So we went for a drive, saw a place that was making cheese, and actually the funny thing about it is we saw everything that we don't want to see. We didn't want to do with cheese, but we learned some things and we come home with some ideas, and it changed our company again to go up another notch. Remember I said we keep the Jersey cow in front of us on everything? There's not a mural picture down there that doesn't have a Jersey type deal on it. First wagon that we started off with was the one with 8 bales of hay on it, but we've gotten a lot more sophisticated now. We have wagons. We built all these ourselves. We can haul 32, 34 people on them. And you don't even have the latest wagon where we put 2 of them together and we can haul 60 people with one tractor. So the fall pumpkin business has become really huge for us. Just to throw out, we started out, we were $25,000, $30,000 a year in pumpkins. Now it's $150,000, $160,000 a year business for us in pumpkins. And of course, we have our goats that baby calves are great, but baby calves like to take a nap, and goats always want somebody to give them some attention, so that always keeps the kids busy. Whenever you're ready to go to cheese, I'm ready. We actually have a calendar of events. Farmstead Cheese. So I'd talk about it, or I give a preclusion or a prelude to this, is cheese business for us began in 2009. Have you ever had a business plan that you come up with and you thought, oh, I've got this perfectly, exactly the way I want it, and you weren't even close? That would be cheese for us, okay? Now I'll explain what I mean by that. So I went to school in the fall of 2008 after we went on our trip. We saw some equipment. We ordered equipment. This equipment come from the Netherlands. Very good stuff. I love our equipment. But by the time we got it shipped over the pond and got it all hooked up, we were the summer of 2009 making cheese. So we come home with this business plan of cheddar. We're going to make baby Swiss. We're going to make Colby. We're going to make pepper jack. And since we promised a neighbor that kind of showed us his equipment, he made Gouda with Holstein milk. It wasn't very good. No, just kidding. Anyways, we told him we wouldn't make any Gouda. Well, then he since quit, so now we make Gouda too. But we had this design. We're going to be able to sell X number of pounds of this, and we're going to make it. And now, up there on the sign, it says Farmstead cheese. Everybody knows what that means, right? Farmstead, the only way you can put Farmstead on your cheese label is if you do not alter the milk in any form or fashion. Okay, so we don't touch it. So we make the creamiest, softest baby Swiss cheese ever. You can melt on your sandwich with your hairdryer. All right, it's that soft because of the Jersey cow's butter fat and other characteristics of her milk. It makes for a really soft baby Swiss cheese. We no longer feed corn silage, much to my dismay, because that was my favorite job on the farm, filling silo in the fall. We feed alfalfa hay and cracked corn because I'm looking for a flavor profile. I made cheese for about 6 months, and I realized that I could affect the flavor of cheese more by what I do in the barn than standing in there watching that machine go around and around and around and around. I can affect the flavor of cheese more by what I do in the barn than what they do in there. Now, I still know how to make cheese, and I got to 2 weeks from now, I have to make it for a day. But we make cheese 7 days a week now. So I've got a couple guys there. There's me back in the day making cheese. So anyways, we work the cow herd for cheese flavor, straight up. Are we trying to set any production records? No. We just wanted to get a nice 50-pound-a-day average, good components, so that we can make a really good batch of cheese and a good flavorful batch of cheese. But along the way, things in our cheese business changed. And I'd never been to Wisconsin in my life, but how many of you are in here from Wisconsin? Okay, quite a few. So what's the thing that you guys what's the big thing up here besides Green Bay Packers cheese heads? Is what? Cheese curds or squeakers, okay? Nobody in Ohio had ever heard of such a thing. And so we tried this thing out, making these cheese curds. Now it's 80% of what we do. 80% of what we do, all right? At Young's Jersey Dairy, the #1 selling food item is a single dip ice cream cone. And it's been that way since the beginning of time. The #2 selling item is a 2-dip ice cream cone. But over the years, 3, 4, and 5 has changed as to what it may be. All right? The #3 selling item at Young's Jersey Dairy, with 2 restaurants, tons of French fries and breaded mushrooms, is deep fried cheese curds. It took it 4 years to overtake the French fries and all that kind of stuff as the #3 selling item. But we're going to make 60,000 pounds of cheese this year out of 37 or 8 cows. And we sold it all. And 80% of it is cheese curds, just like this young man here is putting in a tub. We take them to the store, we bread them, we fry them, and we sell them. It's the craziest thing ever. So when I speak to groups, like the Jersey Association has me speak to young people all the time, I say you have a business plan, but you want it to be flexible because you never know what curveball is going to get thrown at you. And for Young's Jersey Dairy, cheese curds was a curveball that we swung and missed at the first time because we really weren't sure what we were getting ourselves into. But now we have taken full advantage of the way this is working for us. So, this is my economics chat. Everybody says, well, why do you do this? You know, don't you want to milk more cows? No, I don't want to milk more cows. I just like where I'm at. So I did this last year for the Jersey Academy. I did my income. You know, a lot of speakers, or you made the comment that I'm going to be the smallest herd probably ever to speak at the World Dairy Expo because the next guys are going to be up here going, well, we have 3,500 cows and da-da-da-da-da. And so this is my economic worksheet. All right, I get 50 pounds of milk out of a Jersey cow a day. Am I setting any herd average records? No. 50 pounds of milk a day. That's my average. Been that way for 2 years. I get 13 and a half pounds of cheese out of 100 pounds of milk. My cheese yield is 13.5%. Wintertime, 14.8. Summertime, when it's really hot, like it's been this year, I'm down into the 12s. So I like using 13 and a half because it's a nice year average that we figure on. I sell cheese for $10 a pound, average. Actually, the average is a little higher than that, but that's my minimum, $10 a pound. I spend $1.20 making cheese. That's labor, electric, cultures, repairs, everything. $1.20 a pound. As of September 1st, 2018, my costs are $1.20 a pound. So I had 13 and a half times $1.20, $16.20. I put in 25 cents for packaging for the little bit of cheese that we do package and sell because the curds all get thrown in a tub. I feed a bale of hay. My cows eat a half a bale of hay a day. Good homegrown alfalfa, so I put $6 a bale on it. I feed them cracked corn, 11.5% grain mix with a little bit of vitamins and stuff in there. My grain mix's protein percent is 11.5 because that's how good my hay is. So I come up with $12 feed costs. My income over feed costs is $103.40. I don't care whether we have a truce with Canada. I don't care about going to the FSA office. I'm not in the farm program. I live life. I make my own decisions. It gives me the freedom and the flexibility to run the farm the way I want to without any type of interference. It's just a different way of seeing it. Now, do I have to deal with people? Yes. But I don't wake up and worry about the same things that a typical dairy farmer wakes up and worries about every morning. Now, I want to tell you something. Having said this looks all good and everything, but there are some roadblocks along the way. Remember I mentioned the DFA co-op? Yeah, well, the first day you make cheese, guess what happens? They come and tell you, see ya, because you signed a line that says, you must market 100% of your milk off your farm through the co-op. I didn't see that on page 7 of the agreement I signed, but guess what? It's there. So they're going to cut you off right away. You're on your own. And it's happened to others. All of us, this club that we are in, that we do on-farm processing. So you got to be prepared for that. A friend of mine bottles milk. They're at 140 cows. They got clear down to 40 before they started and growing back up. We made cheese. Once the co-op cut me off, I was down to 18, and now we're back up to 40 because of our increased growth. We had increase in cheese consumption 25% a year, 5 years straight. 5 years straight, we grew at 25% a year. So now it's to the point where my one barn is full at 40 cows, and so we've kind of leveled off. This year's weather has not been great, and we have Go ahead and move along. The other story I want to tell you about is packaging. Even though you're on the farm and people are coming to your farm and everything's good, there's a picture of our old original packaging, red and yellow, a lot like Borden's, because remember my uncle was buddies with the Borden's guys. Brown cow on the side of it, keeping that cow off to the side. Now, this is an example of what happens when you have an intern come and says, oh, you need to update your packaging. That looks 1970-ish, okay? So we got these cute little blue and red and clouds and what have you, okay? Well, we were doing pretty good selling ice cream in the dairy store in pints and half gallons. But these things aren't worth a hoot, so we got rid of them. And now today we have these new graphics, and you can actually put pictures of Jersey cows on the side of your cartons, okay? And I'll have these around here. We got a picture of the farm on top and back in the 50s, all right? And the Chinese are good for a few things, and they come up with these graphic things that you can put on cartons. So back to the Jersey cow. Guess what happens when we went from blue to back to that with Jersey cow on the front carton? How much do you think it went up? 23%. 1 year. Same store, same building, same ice cream. 23%. 23. 23 growth in packaged ice cream sales just by changing the carton. Didn't change the building, didn't change what was in it, just changed the carton. Nope. We still sell a true half gallon. One of the last places to still sell a true half gallon. All right? So that's my packaging story. Do not think that just because you're out in the country that marketing's not important. One thing I really want to emphasize here, because the place does look a little bit like a zoo or Disneyland or whatever, is that everything we've done has been centered around the Jersey cow. And we had this incident this a couple years ago where we had a storm there. This is playing, right? This is playing, okay. And so we had a lot of fun with it, all right? But because everything we do around is centered around the cow, okay? I mean, I know you guys are getting a chuckle out of this, but my wife will attest to this. This was news. This was local Dayton, Channel 7, Channel 2, Channel 22, Channel 45 news, all right? This is the cow that sits on top of the sign. And so when I say that the cow, the Jersey cow, is the center of everything we do there, I'm really not kidding. And we owe all of our success to the Jersey cow, all right? Whether it's the milk she makes for cheese and obviously it was the taste of the milk back when we were bottling milk and selling it to people that got us started down this path. But my generation has taken this, put our pedal to the gas and tried to accelerate it as fast as we can. And it's been very successful for us. We've had some good success with it. But the cow is where we have to stay focused on. Now, with the focus on the cow, the other part of our success is the fact that we have created a destination place for people to come with activities and things to do there. You know, we get military groups that come there. Let's see, what's the day that's coming up here in November? No, the Armed Services Day. Yes, Veterans Day. Sorry, thank you. Every once in a while, my mind draws a blank. We'll have a huge Veterans Day thing there. The brochures, you can see all the things that we have. I have put some brochures around. the corn maze, family activity, that's great. The pumpkins that we've seen some pictures of, all family activities. We've gone so far as to even have engagements in the barn. I've tied a ring to a cow's ear. I've tied a ring on a pumpkin and put it in the corn maze. And so all those things. Now, I didn't ask my wife that way, so I didn't do anything like that. But so we have created this destination for people to come, spend time, learn about agriculture, and enjoy the Jersey cow. And so that 1950s farm, clear down there at the very end of the picture, with a silo and a big red barn, has morphed itself into this over the last 40 years. And with that, I will close out my comments here for question and answer time. And see,
So, am I on, John? So we'll take questions from the audience. Drew Duncan is right here with a microphone also. Right up here, Drew. And we do ask you to make the questions on the mic so that it gets recorded and also gets out on the live feed.
So the only thing I want to know is whether you brought samples of the ice cream.
Unfortunately, no, today I didn't bring any samples, but, bringing Buckeyes into Madison, this is enemy territory. I figured if I brought ice cream, I'd really get run out of town. Yes, ma'am.
Can you talk a little bit about some of the zoning and permits that you were needed to kind of have this type of agritourism?
That's a really good question. We did get rezoned for business, okay, not for a long time. When in Ohio, when you're doing things on an agricultural basis, it's called agriculture farm to market. And agriculture in Ohio has been treated very friendly for these farm market type things. But when we did the restaurant, that was taking it a little step farther. And so we did get rezoned at that point in time. But that was in '95. But this monster was already on the grow, and we were a major tourist attraction for the county. So it was like, hey, can we get rezoned? Yeah, sure. When can we do that? Tomorrow? Yeah, sure. Yes, sir.
In your particular locale, what kind of conditions do you have to deal with as far as inspection, food, kind of contamination issues from the state or the local local county?
All right. Great question. I have a milk inspector, just like through the Ohio Department of Agriculture. Our milk inspector is also our plant inspector, okay? He inspects the ice cream and the cheese plant. ODA comes and takes samples of product, raw milk, and ice cream mix once a month and run them through the lab. I take a bulk tank sample once a month, send it to a private lab to keep my grade A certification. All the food service part of the business is run through the local county health department. So ODA does not care about where we cook hamburgers and hot dogs, but neither does the county health department have any jurisdiction over our processing plant and facilities. So ODA, when you make cheese, you're going to get a visit from the FDA. And we've had 2 of those in 9 years, almost 10 years now, 2 visits from the FDA. And the last time that they visited, they said, we're not coming back because you're selling all your cheese right here on the farm. So it's not like you're shipping it to other places to be sold. So we'll see if that's the case or not. So does that answer your question? Very good. Thank you.
Stuart, let me piggyback on that one. What about human health issues as far as with the petting zoo going into the barn and so forth?
Yeah, I hate that part of it. But anyways, we got these hand sanitizer things. And, you know, unfortunately, we live in an era where you can't peel your apple with your barn knife anymore because you'll get sick. And so we have hand sanitizers up. We have hand washing stations now for kids that come there and to wash their hands with and be sanitary. And that's it is important. It is important because you know, kids, they get in there and they're putting their hands on everything, and so yes, it is very important. But that's something that we really have to pay attention to. We get a little bit nervous every once in a while when we hear rumors of somebody getting sick at a doctor or whatever, but knock on wood or plastic or whatever here, we've never really had too much trouble with that issue, but we do have a good preventative.
Okay.
That, perhaps a piggyback off of what you just said, did you have to do anything in particular for liability coverage, or did you have difficulty in obtaining proper insurance as your enterprise has moved from one stage to another?
Insurance, they come and they check us out. Ohio passed a really nice law. There's a picture of that slide on there, the sign that Ohio come up with that said you are in an agricultural area where production agriculture activities take place. It's longer than that, You know, you're on your own, is basically what it says. And so, but yes, we have increased our liability. And in our state, it's been there's a lot of orchards and wineries and breweries and all that kind of stuff in the last 5 years, and it's just exploded. So Ohio's passed some laws to allow insurance for all these places, you know. In Ohio, a brewery is just like our cheese making. If you're just having a brewery with a tasting room, you don't have any health department issues or anything like that. So it's all done under ODA, Ohio Department of Agriculture. And so it's, you know, our state has created some nice arenas for us acquiring the proper insurance, yes.
Well, I had a question here. I know that cheese has to be aged over 90 days or something like that if you don't use pasteurized milk to meet the FDA requirements. Now, I don't know, are you getting around that for having just the farmstead and selling it right on your farmstead?
No, that's federal law, sir. Federal law, pasteurized milk ordinance, as any cheese that is consumed before it's 60 days old must be pasteurized. Okay, so what's that mean for us? The cheese curds, the Colby, the pepper jack, what else? Is that it? Colby, cheese curds, pepper jack, all have to be pasteurized milk. Our cheese vat, we can pasteurize right in it before we start making cheese, okay? So anything that's aged over 60 days does not need to be pasteurized. So that's all of our cheddars and the Goudas and the baby Swiss. We can make that with raw milk, all right? Now, what was your question back there about the ODA? You asked what one of the things they do? They show up. Hey, let's see, what's today, the 4th? Yep. Okay, you made a batch of cheddar on the 5th of August. Where is it? And we got to go find it. And he wants to see it. He wants to make sure that we didn't use that batch of cheese before it was 60 days old. And he's done that more than once, which is all right. That's the way it's ought to be, you know. Yes.
I've certainly enjoyed your story of kind of breaking out of the original farming model and the entrepreneurial drive of kind of shifting. So obviously it's no longer a kind of dad and the boys down on the farm. And I'm wondering what the ratio is of family members working in the business to like other employees.
Well, okay. So in 1970s, when we still played basketball on the concrete pad in front of the shop because there wasn't anybody around, we had 30 girls working the ice cream shop, all right? The roster this week, what did he say? 180 in the ice cream shops on my roster this week. So I still have 12 family members and 5 families working this operation, okay? 5 families, 12 family members. But the need for employees has gone way high. So that ratio has gotten, because I have 180 people work just in the ice cream store. What do you think's in the restaurant? 60 or 70? Yeah, thank you. And another 30 or 40 udders and putters on the roster. So, yeah, it's that has gotten way different. But we do a lot more there now too. Yes.
So I imagine it gets cold where you are at. Are you open year round? What happens in the wintertime when a lot of these outside activities aren't available?
Okay, so
Do you
What's
still
this-
want, the question also on pending on that was, do you still want ice cream in Ohio?
oh well, yeah. Actually, that's a great question. Remember when I said I could pick that place up and move it? Okay? And put it anywhere and make it work? My wife and I have threatened to move it to somewhere in the Carolinas in the winter time so that we can make it work. Outside Fort Worth would be great for me. In the wintertime, yes, we have a finite window of opportunity to really do well. All right, people are not going to eat ice cream in January, in February. Now, we do some activities in the wintertime to help bring a few people out, hardcore customers. All right. We get busy at Christmas time when the Christmas lights are on and people are out shopping. Remember I said those malls or something that gets people out of the house? All right. But, yeah, wintertime is wintertime. It's no different than having an orchard or any of that type of stuff. You have a season. They're more seasonal than even we are, okay? This year, our sales have been flat. We had a terrible spring. April was cool. Then it got warm all of a sudden in May, but it's rained a lot. We've had more rain this summer than I can remember in a long time. So, you know, it is a very seasonal business. So, yes, in the wintertime, there's time to catch up and do other things and be ready for the next spring. So, what other questions? Yes, sir.
I was wondering about investment in facilities, say for storage and where you have to store for 60 days. And is that a major factor?
We have coolers, all right? Now, you got to remember, cheese cooler only got to be about 50 degrees. So it doesn't take some illustrious refrigeration system to keep cheese at 50 degrees, all right? But yeah, we've had to build bigger freezers, bigger coolers, and we've actually gotten pretty good at it. We throw them together ourselves, and that's an ongoing thing, is trying to find storage. Room to put all this stuff when, because you can buy ice cream cartons. You can buy them 50,000 at a time. All right. Did you see the grain bins in the picture? Remember the grain bins? One of them's full of ice cream cartons. It doesn't have oats in it. It's got ice cream cartons in it.
Do you pasture or?
Yes. Oh, yes. We have to. Yeah.
Drew, right here.
He asked me if we pastured. Okay, yes, the cows go out every day. Now, when you deal with the public, here's the question. We'll be getting the cows in, and there'll be a lady standing there going, how come they're coming in? Well, it's hot outside. They don't like suntans, all right? That usually works, all right? But then once you get them in and you tie them up, because we have a tie stall barn, they'll eat their flake of hay, then they'll all lay down, take a nap. We got the fans on. It's 90 degrees outside. The next lady will come up to the fence and she'll go, do you ever let them out? You should have been here 30 minutes ago. They were standing outside, okay? So yes, it's a lot of that, back and forth, personable questions about whether they get to go out, whether they get to come in, and so it's a lot of fun. So you were getting ready to ask a question.
I was wondering if you would, this is on, if you talk a little bit about, did I see you have just one cheese vat? That
One
you're
cheese
working,
vat.
And you're running it 7 days a week?
Yes, ma'am.
Right now? And do you have plans for adding more or making bigger? And then the second question had to do with your flavors for cheese. How did you develop them? Is it you went to school for that, or could you talk a little bit about how you came to that, you know?
All right.
You said how you chose
Great
the
question.
flavors, but how did you actually
Right. All right. So
develop your...
I'll jump into that for just a minute. Yes, the cheese vat is a 200-pound cheese vat. And why we bought that size, I don't know. But it's perfect. It works just fine. We went to school in Vermont, University of Vermont, Lake Champlain on the lake in November. It's colder than all get out. And so we go to this class, and they taught us everything we needed to know about the science of making cheese. All right? And they go, well, of course, Mike and I were the only ones there from the Midwest. Everybody else was either New Hampshire, Massachusetts, right there around. So we're going to make cheddar. Oh, cheddar's so boring. Okay, fine. But that's what, we're from the Midwest. That's what we eat, is boring cheddar cheese. All right, fine. So, and it was, I'll tell you another story after this is over with. But anyways, so that's the flavors. Those are just the common flavors that we grew up with. All right, and as far as getting recipes for making cheese, it's like CIA type stuff. All right, you can't get any of that until you actually start buying stuff to make cheese with, and then they hand it all to you. Okay, and then you can put your own little tweaks and tweak it however you want. Okay, I hired a guy from New Mexico to come in and teach us how to make Swiss. He wanted me to use one culture. It was a two-pronged culture. All right, I didn't like it, so I dropped one of his prongs because I'm making Jersey milk. All right, and I read a little bit, so I just used one half of his culture, and I like it. So I dropped part of his culture. I paid him a lot of money to fly in from New Mexico, and then I didn't even use what he told me to do. All right, so the people that you buy your equipment from, very helpful. I can't think of his name. What's my salesman from the Netherlands? Harold. This is Harold Schuler. Hey, Harold, how are we doing? He was great. He spent 2 days with us, 3 days with us, and showed us how to get everything going. It's not hard. It's not hard. Once you get it down and you get going, it's just, like I said, it took me a couple months. I realized I could change the taste of cheese by how I fed the cows and took care of them than standing in the cheese vat.
But you were commenting it's a steep learning curve because as soon as you start making cheese, you're no longer selling your milk off the farm.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So that building that into your business plan, you didn't know about it, right?
I didn't.
So what recommendations would you give to someone that is going to start making cheese in terms of building that into your business plan?
Good question. You need to factor in, first of all, I would say communicate with your co-op straight up front right away, okay? I do have a neighbor that actually sells all of his milk to the co-op, and he buys back what he bottles, okay? I would have never thought of that, all right? It sounds like a paperwork nightmare, all right? Especially when you're dealing with a co-op. But co-ops aren't co-ops like we think of as when we were kids growing up. It's just a big business now, and all they're doing is CYA. And so, yeah, communication with the co-op, talk to them, and see what you can work out until you get going. knowing that the end is going to be you guys are going away. Okay? Just real quick, I was DFA, and NFO come out and they go, well, we'll take you. Fine. Great. Well, yeah, but our milk gets commingled on some DFA loads, and we kind of got to play ball by their rules too. And I was like, never mind, go away. Bye. See ya. I'll figure it out. So, and that's about the same time that curds all of a sudden went, oh, wow, these are pretty cool. And I went, you know what? I don't really care anymore. You know, I was down to shipping one Sunday a month. And before the higher-ups at the co-op finally found out that I was skimming off the milk. So I got to cheat for a little while. Anyway.
Stuart, talk a little bit, if you would, about the seasonality of your cheese production, cheese curds, as opposed to the hard ripened cheeses.
So why this really works for us, and I will state this to anybody. If it wasn't for the cheese curd business, the cheese business for Young's Jersey Dairy would have been way difficult, all right? If I had to go to a farmer's market or to this dairy grocery store or that grocery store and deliver a little bit for them to sell, all right, it would be a way different thing, all right? The cheese curds makes it really work for us. But in the wintertime, when we're not making a lot of cheese curds, because there's not a lot of people there, we have to, that's when we make our baby Swiss and our cheddars and the cheddar that we slice to put on our cheeseburgers. I mean, we'll use 9,000 pounds of yellow cheddar just for sandwiches a year. Okay, so we use the wintertime to make those cheeses. All right. I got 6,000 pounds of yellow cheddar in the cooler here at the end of September. I need to put about another 5 in during the winter to make it through next summer. Because I won't make any yellow cheddar during the summer because all we're making is cheese curds. And so that's how we work our way through the seasons. I would really like to make our white cheddar in the summertime more because the color is so much better when the cows are out on grass on the white cheddar. It gets a little more yellow because of the green in the grass, all right? You know, cows can't go out and eat onions in the pasture, like in our place either, because that makes the cheese funky. But a cow's an amazing animal as to what they eat and what they put in their. That's why we don't feed corn silage anymore. You can taste the butyric acid from the corn silage in the cheese, especially in a Jersey cow's milk. And so no more corn silage, and we give tours. Great, my most favorite story. You deal with, we're dairymen, we're dairy folks, we think about cheese all the time. I had a lady flat out get so mad at me that she got in her car and left. She goes, she's on our cheese tour. And all of our cheese, all of our cheddar cheese is white except for what we put on sandwiches. All right, so how do you get yellow cheddar cheese? You put annatto in it, all right? 1/8 ounce per 1,000 pounds of milk. It's pretty strong stuff, all right? That's the directions on the side of the bottle. So this lady goes, well, I don't really like your white cheddar cheese. I prefer the yellow. I grinned, and I pulled that bottle out of my back pocket, and I go, well, this is what makes cheese white or yellow. This is food coloring. And I read that directions to her, 1/8 ounce per 1,000 pounds of milk. She'd spent her whole life thinking that yellow cheddar was so much better than white cheddar, and it's 1/8 of an ounce of a dropper of food coloring makes it change color. She's so mad she left, all right? That's my favorite food coloring or cheese story about yellow versus white cheese. What other questions?
We have one more question here, and then we're going to have to close it off.
Your cows must live quite a while being grazed compared to these big herds. What is your average age of your cows? And
I have a lot of 6, 7-year-old cows around. The biggest change for us is I don't ever see a veterinarian. I don't have, since we quit feeding silage and we quit pushing them hard, I don't see a veterinarian. I don't have LDAs. I don't have milk fever near like I used to. Of course, that's a Jersey thing, milk fever is. You know, we just, the cows are just way different. You know, they're not crowded, they're not pushed hard. They just do their thing, and so we don't have a lot of health issues, okay? I don't have a herd health program or any of that kind of stuff. I feed them hay, I feed them their grain and milk them and get them bred back, and everything's good. So that's why I made that one comment. I don't have a lot of the things to worry about that most dairymen wake up every morning and worry about. I have other things to worry about, but I don't have the same things you do. Even though I'm doing the same thing, I'm milking cows. I just don't worry about a lot of that other stuff. I just, you know. Animals are amazing. My wife and I have a little herd of beef cows at home, and they're great. They taste great. Just don't crowd them and all that kind of stuff. That's just a different mindset of taking care of animals. And so, actually, I quit calling the veterinarian a couple years ago, and I won't go there. Never mind. No, I lost my veterinarian in May. He committed suicide. So I was going to say, you know, it got so bad that he committed suicide. But no, it wasn't that. But that is true. I don't have a veterinarian now, so it's a good thing I'm doing what I'm doing.
Well, we want to say thank you, Stuart, for being here today and giving us insight. Let's give him a great round of applause. So we'll have a little bit of time in the changeover if you'd like to visit with him, but we will have to vacate the